What in the world's happening with King County real estate? Let's check it out, because here we go. My favorite update for the year. January, we get to look back at an entire year worth of data. This is actually 3 years worth of data. It's the supply and demand for the last 3 years. Supply being the number of new listings that came to market, demand being the number of homes that went under contract. So you can see overall, 2023 was a terrible year for people like me, old white guys. No, not old white guys, realtors. About 40% less transactions last year than the year before, and then really any time in the recent past. Why? Because people stopped selling their homes, because no one's selling a 3% mortgage and going to buy an 8% mortgage unless they have to. And the 8% mortgages also capped what people could spend, wanted to spend. People were waiting for interest rates to drop, blah, 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 blah. Less deals, okay? Meantime, the ratio, the supply and demand ratio was very different than 2022, but not really that different than the previous years, okay? Certainly not that different than pre-pandemic, meaning prices went up slowly. There was good demand if you priced it right. If you didn't, you sat. It's pretty much the way last year went from a buyer-seller perspective. Looking at the forecast for January, let's just look at the most recent month here, December, and you can see, while some people say, I hate to tell you, I told you so, I don't hate to say I told you so. I enjoy it. I told you so. Selling your home in December is smart. There's more demand than there is supply. That's just smart. If you wait to the spring, there's going to be more supply than demand. I don't know what I need to tell people about it, but that's the way things work. Now, you had to price it like it's 2023, not like it's 2021. But if you did, you got it sold. Okay. More supply, more demand than supply. That's just how that went in December. It also is a good sign. Interest rates are dropping. So if you're planning on selling, do it in January or February. Don't wait till the spring. Don't wait for this predictable increase in inventory. Why would you? Okay. And if you're buying, I'd get into something now, because as interest rates drop, demand is going to continue to go up. You're going to be in bidding wars if you wait for the interest rates to drop. Now, they're never, ever, 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 as Taylor Swift would say, getting back to 3%. But could we see 5% in the next 12 months? You could potentially see low fives in the next 12 months, meaning find a house now and then refi. If interest rates drop, you refi. If they go up, you got a bargain. They are below 7 now for the most part. And you can find someone who was really interested in selling last year, still on the market, get a bargain, sit in your house, build equity. That's the way to roll. Now, this is King County in the aggregate. You got to do your due diligence for your neighborhood, your block. That's me. Don't buy or sell without the intel. That's what I do. Let me know what I can do for you. Aaron Hendon with Christine and Company over at eXp Realty, and I'll talk to you next month. Bye. What in the world is happening with Kitsap County real estate? Wow. Check it out. Okay. This is the last 10 years of supply and demand. Green is the supply, blue is the demand in Kitsap County. And it's not as radical as King or Pierce County in terms of its change, but it's about 40% less transactions every month since last year, certainly than last year. And it's really at an all-time low number of transactions. Why? Because interest rates make it very unlikely someone, unless they have to sell, is selling. You're not moving from a 3% mortgage to a 7.5% mortgage unless you have to. So any second home buying, any kind of moving up buyers, they're all on pause. So they're not selling their homes. Buyers are limited also because 7%, 8% interest limit their affordability. So some of those people are out of the market. All things together mean there's less people buying. But the ratio of supply and demand, the number of listings to the number of buyers, is pretty close to last year. Okay. And that means a couple of things if you're looking to buy or sell. Okay. If you're in real estate like me, it means there's less business to be had and you really want to nurture your clients and take care of them. And if you're a buyer or seller, you want to take care of your real estate friends. Hello. By making sure you refer them to people. In the meantime, this number here from this November is 229 new listings, and last November, 257. Not unlike last year, which might indicate that we've got some kind of solid base. Like, it's hard to imagine less people buying or selling. I mean, December will be less, but overall, it's unlikely it's going to be less than it was last year. This indicates it's unlikely to be less than it was last year. So if you're buying, it's not a bad time if you can find a seller that wants to get out before the end of the year and they've priced it so that it's still sitting on the market, which they do which they do more now than they have in the past, to get a concession where you can buy down the rate, get yourself in a home, and then if rates drop, you can refinance. Better strategy than waiting for interest rates to drop, because if interest rates drop appreciably, is that the word? Anyway, in any kind of significant way, it means the buyers are going to come out of the woodwork, drive up demand, which is going to go back to bidding wars and things like that. Better to buy now and refinance. If you're selling, there's less competition now than there is in the spring. The common sort of, we're going to wait to the spring is not a great strategy, because it's a common strategy and you don't want to be in there in the mix when there's all these other people selling. That's just the nature of the game. Okay. This time of year, there's still plenty of buyers if you're priced right and selling. If you got questions about your particular situation, because everyone's unique, it may not be the best thing for you, let me know. I'm happy to talk to you about it. Let's look and see what would make the best sense for you in this market. But Kitsap, like all the other areas in our region, is experiencing this decrease in the number of transactions and a fairly similar scenario to last year. So let's see what is the best strategy for you. Give me a call. I'm Aaron Hendon with Christine & Company at eXp Realty, and I will talk to you next month. What in the world's happening with Pierce County real estate? Check it out. Here we go. End of the year report. January forecast, one of my favorite times of year. All right. So this is the last 3 years. Supply and demand. Supply, green. Number of new listings that came to market. Blue, demand. Number of homes that went off the market. A couple things you notice right away, or I noticed right away, is similar to King County, similar to the surrounding area. Deals themselves, transactions themselves, about 40% off from last year, lower. People not selling, people not able to buy. That's a huge impact in the number of transactions on realtors like me. And the ratio between supply and demand is different than certainly 2022, but not radically different. You look at the deltas between the number of houses and the buyers, the actual ratio between the two. Not radically dissimilar to 2021, meaning from the buyer or seller perspective, from your perspective, things didn't change all that much. Now, it's hard to reconcile that with the hype that you hear, but mostly the hype was in the number of transactions, was referring to the number of transactions. And that's just how it was. There was less to choose from, but there were also less buyers. So if you were shopping or you were selling, you had to deal with the pricing of 7 to 8% interest. But other than that, it was really quite similar in terms of the market of 2021. Now, looking forward looking, January, what's the forecast? Well, first of all, look at the end of the year here in December. See that little bump? More demand than supply? Yeah. Some people hate to say I told you so. I'm not one of them. Always better to sell in the winter. I mean, I just don't know what to tell you. There's less supply. Demand was strong. There were more buyers than sellers. You could get a great price. You could get a better price if you made that initial price consistent with the current market and you weren't living like it's 2021 and you actually dealt with the way things are right this minute. You could get multiple offers on your house if you came to market. Now, if you're selling, the forecast is for you to sell sooner than later. Don't wait for the increase in inventory. That's craziness. Don't do that. Okay. If you're buying, I would buy now. Interest rates are dropping, which means demand is going to go up. That's pretty predictable. Okay. As interest rates drop, demand goes up, meaning you're going to get into bidding wars. Find a place now, refi after interest rates drop. That makes sense. And if interest rates don't drop, then you're set. You're in better position either way, right? Make your move now. Find someone whose house was sitting on the market all holiday that's ready to sell. Let me help you do that. Anyway, don't buy or sell without the intel. You've got an opportunity to find out what's happening in your neighborhood or your situation by calling me, letting me know what I can do for you. Aaron Hendon with Christine Company over at eXp Realty, and I'll talk to you later. What in the world is happening with Snohomish County real estate? Let's check it out. All right. This is the January 2024 forecast. Where does the time go? We're looking at all of 2023, 22, and 21 in the supply and demand charts, the supply being the green, the number of new listings that came to market, the blue, the demand, the number of homes that went off the market every month for the last 3 years. So what do we see? Well, first, like the other counties that were, if you watch all of them, it's the same story, 40% less transactions than the year before. Okay. That means people like me, realtors, not glasses wearers, people like me had a hard time, less deals, right? People not selling because who's moving from an 8% to a 3%? Who's moving from a 3% mortgage to an 8% mortgage? No one, unless they have to. So they don't. And then buyers were, scared and limited in what they could pay. So, just transactions were down. Now, the delta, the change, the difference between supply and demand wasn't really different than 2021. I mean, it's, month to month is always a little bit of a difference, and it was definitely harder to buy than it was in 2022. But overall, the pricing demands, the pricing model was roughly the same as 2021, meaning the number of bidding wars and things like that. Now, forecasting, looking forward, you can see this really exciting thing happen here in December, meaning demand went way above supply. Some people don't like to say, I told you so. I am not one of those people. I like it. I told you so. Selling in the winter makes sense. There's almost always more demand than there is supply. Why? Because everyone wants to wait till the spring to sell, but that makes no damn sense. There's plenty of buyers. Okay. Now that's as Snohomish County in aggregate. Every neighborhood's different. You may have different advice for your particular situation, but as the aggregate, the logic called I'll wait till the spring makes no sense. Okay. There's no evidence for that. There's just going to be more supply. And look, there's always more supply than demand in the spring. Doesn't make any sense. Okay. Now going forward, what does that mean? That means if you're looking to sell, get it on the market. Let's go. There's a lot of demand and it's pent up from the holidays. Let's go. Get that thing on the market. Give me a call. If you're looking to buy, let's go. Seriously, interest rates are coming down. It's going to get harder and harder for you. You're going to have more and more bidding wars. Everyone's on the sidelines waiting for interest rates to drop. They're waiting. Get it now. Get it now. Find someone who had their house on market all winter. They're ready to sell. Get a bargain. I'm doing that all the time. I just did it yesterday with someone. Get it now. Okay. If interest rates drop, you'll refi. If they don't drop, then you made a brilliant decision. You cannot lose. Okay. So either way, the time to strike is now. If you have questions about your situation, because like I said, every neighborhood is different. Every situation is different. This is an aggregate kind of conversation, but not specific to you. Don't buy or sell without the intel. I like that line. Give me a call. Let me know what I can do for you. Aaron Hendon with Christine Company at eXp Realty, and I'll talk to you later. What in the world is happening with Vashon Real Estate? Let's check it out. This is one of my favorite updates. It's the January update, meaning we're looking back at an entire year's worth of data, including the last 3 years. This is the last 3 years. I'm going to go back deeper for this because this graph is why I love living on Vashon. Why? Because Vashon is weird. It's always different. It's just always, it can't be the same. So if you watch the King County, Pierce County, Kitsap, Snohomish, if you watched any of those updates, you see a really predictable, repeatable trend of deals being lower than the previous years and a real clear spike in demand in December, just really consistent information. And yet Vashon, not a real dip, not a huge dip in the number of deals between year to year. Demand met supply in December. It was pretty typically low. I mean, now obviously Vashon's a much smaller data set, so the information is going to be spikier, but I love that it's so not the way everything else goes. Okay. So makes it a little difficult to forecast, but let's just let's just go back for 7 years. Let's just check out 7 years. Yeah. So you can see that over the last 3 years, even during the pandemic, deals have been roughly the same. I mean, it's not a lot more demand. I mean, there's, been a lot less supply since the pandemic, and it stayed that way. Okay. And demand got spikier, right? Certainly dipped way, way, way down in September, right? And overall, there was a little bit less transactions, certainly less transactions than the previous years, but big gaps in the amount of homes available are right now, right? There's certainly all year and have been, last year too, but the pandemic was a little bit odd in that regard, right? But we never got back up to the number of listings that we used to have here on the island. We'll see what happens this year. In terms of a forecast, this is a really difficult one to forecast because it's, if we were going to say the past is relatively similar to the present, if we're going to say the future is, but best predictor of the future is to look at the past, we're going to say there's going to be a lot more inventory available on Vashon than there have been in years past. That houses that are priced at the top of their range are going to take longer to sell. That houses priced under median, right, are going to sell quicker. And that the top luxury homes are going to take the longest to sell is the predictable future for Vashon. So if you're listing, you would get to market as soon as it's convenient for you to get to market. I don't see there's a huge advantage to coming to market any time other than any other time. I would list it as soon as I could. But I wouldn't rush at it. I'd get it, clean, stage, do all the work that we do for people. I'd also really be careful on the consideration of price. Very easy to overprice in this market. If you were looking to buy, I'd get into something now. There's a lot of inventory available. Interest rates are falling, which means if they fall enough, demand is likely to go back up, right? It'd be harder to buy in the future if the interest rates really drop. So I'd find something you like now. If there's something you see now, do not wait for interest rates. Buy and then wait. Don't wait and then buy. Get into it and then refinance. Okay. But as we always say, don't buy or sell without the intel. Let me know, because every house is different, every neighborhood, every block, every price range. Any questions you have about living on Vashon, that's what I'm here for. Aaron Hendon with Christine and Company over at eXp Realty.